All right, 9 o'clock. Let's get things going. Thanks everybody for hopping on this morning to this month's Industry 30. I'm really excited to have our speaker today, Josh Bone, who's the executive director at ELECTRI International, which is the research branch of NECA. Today, he's going to be talking about megatrends transforming electrical contracting. And I know he has a lot of great research to share today. So with that, I'm going to get things going. You do have the ability to unmute yourself. So if you have any questions, please feel free to hop in, or you can use the chat feature. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Josh. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Listen, I want to echo what Rob just said there. If you have questions, I really encourage you to type them in the chat, raise your hand, or just, Josh, come off mute. I would love it more than anything. I think sometimes this conversation is best to be had as opposed for it to be just a straight up presentation. Real quickly, just so all of you know, I took over ELECTRI International as the executive director just a little over 2 years ago. Love what I'm doing. ELECTRI has been known for research and education, but we are turning ELECTRI into a true R&D arm. We're trying to create tools and resources that you can in turn use and operationalize in your business. We're going to continue to do academic research like we've done for 35 years. But when it makes sense, we're going to go to contractors. We're going to do research and look at topics like change orders. We're going to go to where the knowledge is, and that comes from the contractors, not academia. And when we start to look at other subjects like cybersecurity, we're going to go to subject matter experts. That's not the right place for academia. So my job is to help all of you stay ahead of the pace of change. And I can tell you that I'm not saying anything that you don't know. This industry is moving very, very quickly. Electrical contracting is transforming right in front of our eyes. And it's my job to kind of look at all these things, make sense of all these trends and what's happening and how's it impacting the world of electrical contracting. So if you don't think change is real, last week I was in San Antonio and I heard the CEO of Turner Construction. This first slide was shifting risk. That's what we've always done. That's how we ran our business. We were construction managers, and we bought and sold risk. And we were very good at shifting risk on the electrical and mechanical contractors. Today, we realize if we want to hit jobs on time, within budget, we know we've got to engage our electrical contractors much earlier in the process, and we want to find ways that we can help them balance risk. Now, I don't think Turner grew a conscience overnight and just said, we're going to make sure that we take care of everybody we've been beating down for the last few decades. I believe they realize that the industry is shifting and changing, and that they can no longer act the way that they've done in the past. That electrical contractors are a pivotal role now in how projects are going to be delivered and how do we get them engaged earlier in the process. And what you're seeing now, this is a slide straight off of the CEO of Turner's page. And basically what he's saying now is, guess what? We have a lot of work. We're going to be selective in who our owners are that we work with. We're going to be selective. We're going to be looking at best of choice, first choice for our trade partners, our design partners. And we've got to start operating around this mentality of how we look at how we're coming together as a team to add value, hit the projects on time, on budget, but how are we going to control this more and help the owners understand that they can either be a part of the solution or a part of the problem. At CURT, large capital project owners are in that room, Intel, Google, Merck, Microsoft. For the first time, they're hearing that you've been an issue, you've been a problem for us. So we've got to change the way we go about doing business, and we're going to be more selective in who our customers are. So, I mean, I didn't think I would hear that this past week. That's just one of many things that I'm hearing across the landscape. And I want to break down a few of these for each of you today. I want to kind of jump in here. But before I do, I want to set the tone for just a minute. It's never been a better time to be an electrical contractor. Right now, we're seeing massive investments and values of electrical contractors. We're seeing across the board, small, medium, large. NECA contractors across the country are taking private equity. They're getting the bigger getting bigger. There's a lot of acquisitions that are happening in the market. Right now, electrical contractors have a higher value than they've ever been able to bring in the past. And there's a lot of changes happening around this. I mean, I'm in doing this, some of these companies that NECA contractors that have been around a while, I'm hearing them start to use different phrases. I'm hearing them talk about a beta. and that's earnings before interest, tax, and you can depreciation and amortization. They're really looking at how they shift from working in the business to on the business, and not running their business as an electrician. They're running their business as someone that's going to be driving this and looking at profitability. That's something to me that is it's standing out. I'm seeing this in a big way. I see it all across the country, and the contractors of all sizes. So these are just a couple things I'm paying very close attention to now. And where I want to jump in here just to help all of you understand is what's driving so much of this. What is driving a lot of the changes in the industry, and what's driving the change in private equity and electrical contracting. I want to talk about these 6 things: electrification, supply chain, price escalation, work-life balance. I know some of you don't even like hearing that term, but the workforce is changing. Manufacturing, industrialization of construction, systems integration, what's happening with low voltage, and leveraging data. So I want to jump in here first and talk about electrification. And you hear about this now, EOE, electrification of everything. And what does electrification actually mean? Well, electrification is a lot more than just EV. Right now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is telling us that electrician jobs are 3x, are expected to grow 3x in the next 6 years, more than any other occupation in the United States. 3x. That is an alarming number. And as electrification takes place, they're anticipating that can be upwards that can be closer to 6x in the demand for electricians and the need for where things are going forward. I was talking to Tim Brink, the president of Mechanical Contractors Association of America. What keeps them up at night is that things are going electric, that your guys are going to have connection to everything now. The toilets are actually going to be connected, and they're going to be smart toilets, and the refrigerators, and even the hot water in your shower at some point is going to be digitally controlled, and they're going to be able to measure this, and it's all going to be connected. The mechanical, sheet metal, they're all looking at what does electrification mean to them. And when I say electrification of everything, I mean everything. Yes, let's talk about EV. And just to put this EV in perspective, by the way, that 5% of new sales in June of 2022 were fully electric. So 5% of all new automotive was fully electric. If we look at 19 other countries that are ahead of us, and we see what this means by this tipping point, they're saying that by June of 25, just 3 years later, 25% of all new automotive vehicle sales will be fully electric. And what is that going to do? Now, you look at the electrification of our vehicles, look at the demand. If you have one car driving 24,000 miles a year, these are very conservative numbers. Basically, if you look at that and your primary source of charging is at home, you're going to double your energy consumption at your home. So your energy cost is going to be double of what it is today. Now, with that, I see that, and this whole thing about sustainability is being pushed. It is what it is. We've got to remove our politics from this because it's a massive opportunity for us. And when it comes to sustainability, electrification of everything, this is a significant opportunity for us across the board. How can we help our customers see us as consultants and help them lower their energy consumption? And how can we be a part of this? Well, right now, industrial, we can go out to our industrial partners. If you do work with industrial clients, half of all industrialized processes in America today can be electrified. So all the equipment that you use for steam reforming, cracking, drying, evaporation, washing, rinsing, food preparation, you can go in and switch out that old mechanical equipment with electrified equipment. And there's a real value in the cost of maintenance and doing an ROI study for that today. So it's more than just EV. It's your industrialized equipment moving to electrical components that have much better cost of ownership and lower maintenance costs to keep these types of pieces of equipment up and running. And you think about that, the service and maintenance costs that goes along with that, looking at operations, being able to put some sensors and connectivity to this. And is it out of balance? Is it vibrating? Is it hot? Is it, what temperature is it running at? Looking at harmonic frequency, are there certain things there that we can learn from this process? We can be much more predictive in how this type of equipment performs as well. And then you start to break this down with McKinstry is a NECA contractor. They're full MEP out in Seattle. And we were out touring their facility and we went out to see their fab shop. But one of my biggest takeaways is 7 years ago, they were doing absolutely no energy management services. So they started diversifying and they got in and they invested in this product called Edo. They started going to their customers and working with their customers and helping them look at how their performance is with their energy usage. 7 years ago, they started zero. Today, $600 million a year in revenue is coming from energy management services that McKinstry's providing to their customers. And it's a growing part of their business. Yeah, very low risk, very high margins. This is the thing that we took away more than anything. Got a great shop doing some amazing things. They're a very large MEP contractor, but this energy management services is a rocket ship for them. And where they're based in Seattle, they're embracing the sustainability at a faster rate. But this is a massive opportunity for us to upsell and get in closer to our customers. So moving beyond before you get into renewables, it's, hey, how can we help you optimize your energy usage and be more efficient with that? And as I was saying, if we look at just the usage today of a home and doubling your energy consumption with an EV, we're going to have to start thinking about how are we going to take airports, data centers, and other facilities. Microgrids are going to become a huge part of that. Today we have 431 microgrids. Those are public. Those are not military. There's more military and others that are out there. But you look at where we are today, the ability to come in and look at the level of service, what's capable, we're going to see more and more microgrids. There's a lot of regulations on it today, but 431 out there that you're going to see that number grow exponentially. And by the way, our data infrastructure that's out there, our digital infrastructure, not only is our infrastructure at with our grid a challenge, we've got a lot going on with digital. There's plenty of data center work, more to come there. That we foresee that data center work not going away anytime soon. So if you're doing that work, you can plan on many years ahead to be very resilient. But here's what I want to tell you about electrification. This is the thing with electrification of everything. It's what keeps Tim Brink, the Mechanical Contractors Association of America's president, up at night. It's what keeps the sheet metal, the carpenters, the laborers. With all the work coming our way, we've got to start talking to our IBW partners and being real smart about what this means, because we can't own it all. We can't recruit our way out of, we've got a workforce shortage as it is. And you're going to see things like the Civilian Climate Corps that's going out to inner cities and they're giving them apprenticeship and they're teaching them how to be, look at this headline. It's green energy has a problem. There aren't enough electricians. Here's one solution. We're going to go out and recruit from these inner cities. We're going to put them in apprenticeship and we're going to give them jobs and teach them how to work and do green energy. We have an abundance of opportunities coming our way. We've got to right now look up and see some of these opportunities and identify how we want to grow and change. As I look at this and I start to think about a couple of challenges that we move from here, while we're still talking about the work coming our way, let's take a moment for just and look at this changing workforce. If you want to take this survey, I only want you to send it to your best electricians. Right now, we're sending this to foremen, best field electricians. You can scan this with your phone. Please send this out to the best, because here's what we're trying to do. The workforce is changing. You don't have to call it work-life balance. You don't have to call it any of that. We just need to address the fact that the workforce is changing. It's not only electricians. It's all across the construction industry. It's all across America. It's all across all industries. This is a global, and every industry is being impacted by this. What we've started now with the soft launch of this is we're learning some things. One thing that we're seeing in a big way right now from this initial survey is 410s. 73% would prefer 4/10 over 5/8. Now I'll tell you, the thing that we've been looking at on 4/10s on a 40-hour compared to 5/8 40, I'm 23% more productivity coming out of 4/10s and 5/8 due to a number of factors. But we're typically, when we compare work on a 4/10 shift versus 5/8, 23% has been that magic number of productivity. But one of the things you're going to see from this survey is we start to look at some of our best electricians. This has about 400 results from this survey so far, all around the country. This PTO, paid time off, is a growing expectation for the workforce. It's something that they really want to do. And as we get into the survey, you start to see some of this, even on benefits. What do they want to see more in their benefits? More PTO as part of their benefits. 85% of those surveyed top performers are working 40 to 49 hours a week. 12% are working 50 to 59. Almost 20% say they would prefer to work 30 to 39 hours a week. That's our top performers. I'm not here to say it's right, wrong, or indifferent. What I'm here to tell you is this is a new workforce that we're dealing with. And if we're not recruiting enough apprentices to make up for this gap, if people want to work 30 to 40 hours a week, not 40 to 50 or 50 to 60, then what do we want to do here? So what's the challenge? We've got to address that our workforce is changing, and how are we going to go about doing that? So 79% are willing to work overtime. What's making them willing to work more overtime? They like the 4/10s, and if they can get it on a Friday, that's much better than on Saturdays and Sundays, we're learning. And they're willing to work overtime if they can also start to backlog paid time off. So again, just trying to put some things out there to you. This survey is going to be done here by the end of this month. So we're going to roll this out pretty quickly. We're going to go and do some interviews, and we're going to have this research ready to go for all of you to start looking at. I encourage you to send this out to just a few of your best people. It's all anonymous information. We are passing this out to non-union as well, just to see if we want the IBEW to understand we're a partner in this, and we're just trying to learn and how can we make better decisions going forward to have better attendance and better predictability of when people are going to be on the job site. Now, we've got a workforce shortage, but I want to talk to you about one of the trends that we've really got to pay close attention to, and we've got to address this head on. It's industrialized construction. When I talk about industrialized construction, I mean manufacturing of construction. And by manufacturing of construction, what's driving this? This is information just last year from Procore, Level Set, Autodesk. So this is brand new information, hot off the presses, 2022. This is where we stand as an industry right now. This is not mega projects. This is all jobs right now. Only 15% of projects are completed on time in the US. 30% of projects are delivered on budget. And chance of on time and on budget is less than 10% in 2022. Lead times have played a huge factor into that. But I'm going to tell you what keeps me up at night. I respect my electrical contractors so much, and I care about you guys being successful. It means a lot to me. When we're the first on and last off, and these jobs are already missing their schedule on concrete and steel, so the MEP already gets compressed. The fact that we have to come in after everyone, drywallers, painters, and everyone else in some of these projects, it is making it much harder for electrical contractors to manage that risk. You've got to do a better job than ever documenting your projects. You've got to make sure that you're showing, hey, how you compress my schedule. Electrical contractors are getting beat up on liquidated damages, just caps. Right now, you need to do a better job than you've ever done before in documenting your projects and showing where that schedule was compressed and how you've now been backed into a corner. And the reason you're not hitting your schedule is due to all of these other factors that led up to that. So make sure your project teams are documenting that. But here's the thing. You look at so much of what happens, it's out of necessity. The reason we're getting into offsite construction is because of these numbers here. This because the ability to hit projects on time, on budget, is getting tougher. Projects are getting more complicated. So owners are out there and they're looking to these offsite integrators now. This is Blocks out of Birmingham, Alabama. They purchased a a rail car manufacturing facility, and they've got these carts that they have, and they just roll off these lines for products for head walls, for bathroom pods, and they're getting up to now doing larger and larger and larger modular components. And what's being delivered here, and this was talked a lot about at Kurt, is owner furnished, contractor installed. We're going to buy these components already put right into the engine, designed into the project, and we're going to buy these, we're going to drop these in on the job, and we're going to try to do everything we can to do a better job of hitting our projects on time and with on budget to have more certainty. Now, this owner furnished, contractor installed is coming at us for a number of reasons. If you look at Merck is telling us by 2025 that they've got to have 80% of all labor diverted offsite by 2025. If you're doing pipe and wire, you know what? You're going to have to find a way to do this. Merck has $100 billion to spend in the next 8 to 9 years. Intel has over $100 billion. Intel, I mean, as we go down the list right now, Amazon, Microsoft, the numbers that we're hearing are in the billions. It's massive amounts of money that's going to be spent by just Kurt owners. Merck being one of them, if they can do an OSIP, which they've done, an owner-controlled insurance program on $100 billion, how much money do you think that's going to save them by diverting 80% of their labor offsite? It's massive amounts of money. They're committed to this. They are not going to back down off of this. They've already seen, we've had contractors sign contracts in California and other places on Merck jobs, and they're having to meet standards today 40, 50%. And you're having to really think outside the box. So again, money's driving a lot of this. And I want to take a second and tell all of you this. If you're not doing prefab today, take this into consideration. 5 years ago, if you'd have said, Josh, should I get into prefab? I would have said, absolutely, without a doubt, you need to get into prefab. If you're not doing prefab today, or you're not doing much prefab, my mindset has changed a lot. I look at prefab today, and as I've gone around with stopwatches in a lot of our fab shops around the country, today you can buy from manufacturers and distributors things that are already kitted, unboxed. You can start to buy prefab now as a catalog part. And I'm going to tell you, I think that's something that we've really got to explore now more than ever. That the fact that if I can go out and buy this and have it delivered, and they can manage the logistics and keep all that and control that, and I can see that cost and I can bid that job, you know, there's a lot of value in that. I'm of the mindset now. I really look at the job. I want to understand my process. How good am I at making my end wall boxes or hangers or whatever it is I'm prefabbing? And I want to look at that, have an understanding of that cost, logistics, and where I'm at risk, and how it might be better to buy that from my distribution partners today. I'm really trying to balance that out and understand that, because that is something that we don't have portability through our prefab. If I'm going to prefab something in Philadelphia, I can't ship it to Atlanta. I can't ship it anywhere else. The UA and Smart and others have agreements with the mechanical and sheet metal contractors. We don't have that. So we've got to be smart and understand what that means and how we go about doing that, because there is a lot of moving parts and logistics that's required to be able to do this. And one of the things you're seeing more and more of is modular. A lot of NECA contractors out there today are doing entire electric rooms. And what I'm going to say is not an easy pill to swallow, but I want to say it because I believe it. I mean it. Is if I go and I look at sheet metal, if I'm not going to go out and buy a coal line, I'm not going to go out and buy these laser cutters, water jets. I'm not going to go out and do that. If I'm going to go do linear duct, I'm going to go to another SMACNA contractor. I'm going to go buy my linear duct from them because I can't be competitive on that price. And I'm going to go after that job, and I'm going to work with a partner. I believe the future for pipe and wire, you're going to have to be strategic and start thinking about how you work with other NECA contractors, joint venturing, understanding what's your overhead, how can we work together on jobs and be more competitive. Volume needs to go up for some of our contractors, and I know this is a very different approach, but as we look at what the manufacturing of electrical construction means, it's going to change things exponentially. And today, as I look at here, this 20-foot CNC bender, and this one can handle up to 6 inch rigid and 20-foot sticks. I mean, you look at how this is going in and bending this pipe. I'm aware of about 6 of these benders now out there. And you can see how this is going through and bending a piece of pipe, pretty large piece of pipe, bending it pretty quickly. This is our world. This is the future of pipe and wire and electrical contracting. And I'm here to tell you, I'm always watching these kind of things for you. As you start to see that bend, two guys will walk up. Those are journeyman electricians. We've got new skills, we've got to think about this in a different way. And if you don't think this is going to happen, I was just working with Allied BIM the other day, and they're giving me information now saying that this machine that they are working with Star is 1/2 inch to 2.5 inch EMT and rigid conduit, $6,000 a month. They're working on the next version that comes out. It's going to be 1 inch up to 6 inch. Now it's going to be more expensive, but I can tell you the price of these types of benders is going to continue to come down. And just like the sheet metal days, could you imagine if you're out there cutting with 10 snips, thinking that you're going to compete with someone that's over there now cutting with a laser cutter, not a plasma cutter, with no slag, and being able to run all that through with less damage and wear and tear on your press machines. Now, this is where it's at. And I'm just talking here because I want to be honest and transparent with you. I believe we've got to look at how we start to bring in material handlers. If we're going to go into this space and this is where you're going to be, we've got to think about other classifications and how we can be competitive in this. It's going to be a volume game. And you see Rise Modular out there, they do electrical. And what are they trying to do? It's in Minnesota, 70 degrees year round. You want to start at 9 o'clock? You want to start at 6:30? You want to start at what time do you want to start? Do you want to work 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week? We got a place for you. And they're doing a one size fits all benefits plan. They'll come in and talk to you. What do you want to do? How much? And we'll try to get you the maximum on your check, or do you want to go into savings? They're doing those things. And what we've got to realize is this is the world of pipe and wire. Now, pipe and wire, there's plenty of work to be done there. It is going to be industrialized, but I'll tell you, I believe the future of electrical contracting is around service and around limited energy, low voltage systems integration. What I'm already seeing today is if you look at this and you try to understand where we're at right now, is the electrical contractors profile that was started by EC Mag back in 2004. In 2004, 73% of the volume, the revenue volume of a NECA contractor was transmission distribution of power. By 2016, that had gone from 73% to just over 40%, and today it's less than 21%. They just came out with the latest. They do this every 2 years. In 2022, it was less than 21% of the revenue of a NECA contractor. And you look at all of these other areas that continue to grow year over year over year. And as we start to think about what does that mean, well, there's a lot of opportunities here. When I talk to these owners, and these owners are coming back, they're telling us that 13% of the cost of a building is in design and construction, 87% of the cost of a building is operating, maintaining that building over its lifespan. And with this mentality of install, get in and get out, I believe has to change. It's something that you've got to start questioning yourself on, because there's a massive amount of opportunity out there now. In pipe and wire, not a lot of service opportunity, but as these connected systems come together, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity. And what I try to do is, yes, we take some moonshots at ELECTRI. We want to be looking out 10 years. We want to try to be predictive and help you stay in front of this. So we've got to do that. But there's the now future, the near future, and the distant future. And when I'm trying to look at a lot of these things, making decisions on where I see this industry going and where these trends are going to have the most impact on you, is I follow the money. And this smart building marketplace is booming. It's growing exponentially year over year. And what do we have to look at is who's following that money? Schneider is following that money. They sat on stage in an ELECTRI event just a few weeks ago in Scottsdale, Arizona. Schneider, ABB, Siemens, and Eaton all said, we no longer want to work with electrical contractors that live in 3-bid and to buy. If you're out there going to your customers and telling them that digital gear is too expensive and you can't see the value, you're focused on cost. We are looking for electrical contractors that are selling value, that are a part of this. And we can't do this without our electrical contractor partners. They are looking for electrical contractors to partner with that are a part of their ecosystem, their platform that they're creating. Because what they realize now is they're looking at efficiency gains. They're looking for that consultative electrical contractor that can go into their customer and sell that school system, sell that industrial facility, sell that hospital, healthcare facility. And Schneider's not alone. ABB's got their ability system, just like they have their eco structure, and they're looking for energy managers. They're looking for field managers, facility managers. They're looking for NECA contractors. They have already, Schneider has partnered with NECA contractors, and ABB has as well. And I'm here to tell you, Eaton, Siemens, GE Digital, they're all going, and they're all about to create their own platform. You know, they admitted they're decentralized. They're not perfect. You know, they know they've got a lot of issues and they're not always the best partner, but there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to partner with these companies because they see that this connected system, and we talk about digital twin, we're doing research on that right now. And what does a digital twin mean? That we're creating a digital representation that we can run scenarios if we want to see that, hey, what's it going to take to we need to install EV charging on this street. Well, what does it mean? What's at the substation? We can run a digital view of that and see what it takes and how much is the cost and how do we go about doing that. And you've got NECA contractors out there like Cache Valley. They're investing heavy into their software solutions. A lot of NECA contractors are really diving in to this software game. Cache Valley wants you to go out and sell their system, and your customers would never see their name. Partner up with us. We've got a number of different IoT solutions in the software game. One that they do is now, as of January, the NFPA has the new smart exit signs at work. You can go into your customers, change out their exit signs, the old exit signs with new smart exit signs. Instead of having to come around and do the monthly audit, they can run this on a check through software, and you're now able to go out and just sell this to your customer. They don't see Cache Valley on the back end. You're going out, you're going to sell this to your customers. You're going to install these smart lights. You're part of their go-to-market strategy and how we play in this new world. Because what you're starting to see is there's no way out of this path. It's cyclical. It's ups and it's downs of install. New construction, if that's the world that you live in, it's going to be peaks and valleys. But as we start to look at installing these systems, there's NECA contractors out there that are putting the anklets on the baby, and in every door, the elevators can't turn off. It's massive connected systems. They're looking at long term because there's so much service opportunity there. The schools, the new technology that you can put into schools, had it been in Uvalde, it would have changed that whole situation. This technology now can save lives. It can improve lives. It can, and there's so much connected here that it really changes the game. And what I want you to think about next is this. As we start to talk about the now future, the near and the distant future, this world of data, these companies are out there. Data has become the new oil. It is the most valuable commodity there is. And these companies are drilling for our data. Because what data does for us, it helps us transform our businesses. I told you about the private equity. What are they diving into? They're diving into the data. We as NECA have a tremendous opportunity right now to start really thinking about analytics and how we can do this. And I'm going to give you an example coming right off the Super Bowl about football. As you can tell, my accent is not Southern Pennsylvania. It's Georgia. But if I look at across college football or the NFL, you go right now and you look at any Big Ten team, any SEC team, ACC, any of the Power 5 conferences. I bet you didn't know that they now have most of them have over 60 coaches, and they're analysts. That's what they do. They're offensive quality, defensive quality, they're analysts. And they're out there looking at when this team lines up in this formation, they're on the road, they're at home, they're winning, they're losing, it's third down, it's second down, it's 7 yards, it's 4 yards. All of these factors that come into play, based off all these factors and looking at tendencies, they can tell you right now when they line up in this formation, they're 40% more likely to run this play than any other play in their playbook. But you hear them say defense shift last minute. Why did the defense shift last minute? Because they know based off number 28 going in motion, they know now there's an 85% likelihood that they run this play. And what they're doing is just like you've seen it. We'll let Rob be Brad Pitt and I'll be Jonah Hill, but we're going to play some money ball. We have the ability right now to shift from a commodity to a consultant. We have the ability to be tied to that building for its entire life cycle. There's so many things we can do with documenting the electrical room, going through, putting that 3D walkthrough model in the cloud on our website, providing this as a service, upselling the customer, being able to come back in there and have that stickiness where they're coming back to you and they see you as a partner. This world of, I want to be the cheapest and fastest is not sustainable. It's a race to the bottom. Yeah, it's hard to move away from that because it's such a competitive industry, but we have the ability with technology and data to change the conversation. And what do I mean by change the conversation around data? I'd love to hear one of you in the next few months before I come to Philadelphia at AEI. Listen, I'm here to help you with any of these things too, by the way. Any of these things you want to talk about or dig into, you reach out to Rob and facilitate a conversation. I'll make it happen. But what I want is to know that some of you sit down and take one of your GCs out to lunch and say, hey, I want to talk to you before we go to and schedule this job. We're going to do 610s. I just want you to understand, did you know this data is out there? We got an R&D group called ELECTRI. They tell us it's 60 hours a week. Look at how much productivity falls off on a 60-hour work week. What if we stagger every 3 weeks and we go back to a 410 week? Or how can I stagger my crews to get that 610, that 60 in there? Can I start a crew on Monday, Tuesday, and another crew on Wednesday? Let's talk about this. Not only are we going to have productivity issues, we're going to have safety, we're going to have quality, we're going to have absenteeism, we're going to have a lot of problems. And let me just tell you this, Mr. GC, Mrs. GC, 2/3 of all projects that we randomly surveyed in 2018 were carrying overtime. 50% had to extend the project end date. It's not a silver bullet. And here's what I need to be able to do. If we're going to work 60, I've got to start thinking about what my attendance is. How am I going to plan work? You want me to have 8 people out here, 9 people out here? You're going to be upset with me because I can't keep that number. I'm trying to plan my work, but on 610s, it makes it really tough for me to do that. Help me understand that this is going to be an issue on Mondays and Fridays. Let's have more conversations. I want to sit at the table with you and talk about why 410s are going to help me in this way, or why we want to do it this way. That, hey, just so you know, the national right now, productivity is down for everybody. It's something we're seeing, we're measuring this, and attendance is down as well. It's across the board. It's across all trades. You may be feeling it. I'm just here to validate it. We're trying to measure some of this and understand what this means. But what I want you to be able to do is when you plan work, that you know between Thanksgiving and New Year's that your productivity is going to drop even more and that your attendance is going to fall off even more. And I want you to be able to plan work with more certainty than ever before. That's where I want you to be. That's what we want to be able to do with data, is to help you make better decisions that go along with your intelligence and gut, but it helps facilitate that. And we got to be able to understand that 410s, higher attendance than 5/8. Weekends, how much is going to fall off? What time of the year? Let's plan work accordingly and make sure that we're going to setting ourselves up for success. And my whole vision of where this all goes with ELECTRI is I want to give you the ability to do KPIs, key performance indicators, and I want you to benchmark those. I want to tell you how you measure the cost of a bid. So what's your cost to put out a bid? How many bids are you putting out? What's your win to loss ratio? What if I'm out there and I see that Josh says, based off my territory, based off contractors and my size, Josh is telling me through ELECTRI that, you know what, my bid cost is good. That I'm out over here and I'm putting out about the right number of bids, but my win number is really high. Am I leaving money on the table? That's what I want you to be able to do. It's like when you go to the doctor's office, they're going to tell you your cholesterol's high. They're not going to tell you, hey, your cholesterol's 220. And you're like, is that good or bad? I don't know. How bad could it be? You walked in here, you walked out, and you answered the phone when I called you today. How bad could it really be? I want you to know that number is a healthy number or an unhealthy number. Because where we're trying to take all of this, even in contracts, we've been working with Document Crunch. We ran hundreds of contracts through NECA contractors, and we set for these 10 provisions, best practice, medium practice, deficient practice. I hope when you're at lunch talking to that GC, having that conversation, that you're going to bring up this short report and say, hey, look at here. I'm looking at my contracts and look at what you guys got me doing here. We've defined best practice, medium practice, deficient. Look at how much deficient practice language you got me signing on my liquidated damages, my waiver of consequential, my hazardous materials. This is ridiculous. Come on, meet me in the middle here. I was talking at the event just a couple of days ago with these owners. I said, you do realize you think you're winning by letting your contract department have our contractors sign language like this. You think if you go and collect on this and there's damage to be done, you think you've now protected yourself by going in here and beating us down over contract language? I can tell you on liability caps, you think that insurance company is not coming for you after they come for our contractors? Guess again. They're coming after you. You've not protected yourself. You've only actually put yourself more at risk by opening that door for them to come after our electrical and mechanical contractors. So we've got to have better conversations and let data speak more to this. And the reason I want you guys to think about this is I want you to think about this as a group for your chapter. Not weapon. I never want you to weaponize data. Never want you to do that. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. But what I want you to do is I want you to think about what can happen and how we can use data to have better conversations. Luke Cool out of the St. Paul chapter, just north of, across the river in Minneapolis, we were talking and he said, Josh, look at this number over here. And as I look at this number, let me just pull this over here just a little bit. Let me do that. Give me 1 second. He said, last year we had 62 retire, 52 graduate, and we have 30 indentured. We lost a number of 10. So, let's look at that. How long have you had that data? He went back and he said, I got it for a long time. I said, let's look at it over 10 years. And nobody had been looking at it, but that negative 10 was bad. But if we trend that over the last 10 years, it's negative 209. We've lost 209 have retired out, more than have graduated. We've got a problem. The number's going the wrong way. Data can help us see things and make better decisions and move forward and be more, maybe we need to be bringing in more apprentices. Maybe we don't. Maybe we need to do some other things, but we've got to come to the table and come together as partners, trying to do the right thing, because that's where we are right now. Is we've got to start to understand that we've got to change. And in this whole world of change management, process mapping, let me tell you where all of this goes. If we want change to happen, this is not only in your company, this is with our relationship with our labor partners. This is important. There's only one way to do it right. You have to align all your vision, skills, incentives, resources, and action plan. If you miss on your communicating your vision, it creates confusion. If you don't hit on the skills, it creates anxiety. If you don't provide the right incentives, you get resistance. If you don't have the right resources, there's frustration. If you don't have the right action plan, there's false starts. And what I'm here to tell you is the culture is more important than anything. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things wrong. If you have the right culture and you've built a culture, Josh is telling me we're doing this. We're going to go to digital time cards. And you know what? Josh messed it up, but I believe in Josh because Josh has proven to me, I believe I've got the culture there that supports this and backs him up. They're going to continue to try to work with me and help me. I'm not just throwing things at them all the time. I'm providing the right resources, because if you don't have the right culture and you mess up, time cards, now instead of implementing those digital time cards, having the things and information that you need, now they're going to wait. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, 2 years. You've got to build a culture that's there around change to help you be successful, because you're going to make mistakes when it comes to managing change. And I'm going to tell you this is the one thing I want to challenge all of you on. And this is the last thing I'm going to say here, is complacency is something we've really got to test. We've really got to check ourselves in our own companies. Edward Deming during World War II was successful in implementing lean. It was not lean at the time, but he took a B-25 bomber from a 24-day process to an 18-hour process of starting and rolling off the assembly line. Ford and General Motors watched this, had a front row seat to this in their own factories. He did this for airplanes, he did it for tanks, he did it for weapons. He is credited to being a huge success of the whole process of the World War II. After World War II, he comes to Ford and General Motors. Let me help you. Let me show you what we can do. Ford and General Motors said, last time we checked, Japan and Germany, not going to be big problems for us, not a competition for a long time to come. And we can go out there and take those lines and start producing cars right away, Ed. We're good. Wish you the best of luck. He went to Toyota. This was 1949, 30 years later, 1979. Toyota sold more automobiles in the United States of America than any other automotive manufacturer. And in 2022, they still are able to hold on to that position. And what I'm telling you is that we've got so many opportunities. Change is exponential. Change happens very quickly. Pipe and wire, it's going to be plenty of work there. But let me tell you that one thing I've learned as a consultant that's really hard. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it. Doing something new is not that hard. Giving up something that I've been doing for a long time, that's a habit. And that breaking a habit is actually way harder. I can get you to do something new much easier than I can get you to give up something you've been doing for a long time. And I just want to challenge you on that, because as you think about this, even how you wrote emails, let me show you this, guys. How many of you have heard of ChatGPT? All right, look at this. This is us right now taking an email, copy and paste right out of Word. Jared and I set this one up, but maybe you've seen it or not, but all he's going to do is go in and ask a question. So Jared's not the best typer, so he just goes and opens up his Word document. He copies this question, write an RFI on electrical switchgear being encroached by mechanical ductwork, reference section NFPA 7020, section 11026. He puts that in, and within a matter of seconds, if you've not tried this, it's free right now. Look at what this does. It starts writing an RFI, and it formats it. It's amazing what this thing is capable of doing. If you've not tested this, listen, I know a lot of us don't have the best technical writing skills in the industry, and how much time is spent writing an RFI, asking questions. This thing can write emails, it can write questions, it can do all kinds of things. And, if you've not played around with it yet, I would highly recommend that you start to do that. But look at this. I mean, it's pretty amazing what it's doing there in real time. But again, that change is exponential. Try some of these things out. And with that, I'll open it up to Q&A, Rob. Hope everybody had some takeaways here. And this slide deck, I'll give you the videos and everything that you need.
Thanks, Josh. As expected, great presentation today. On that ChatGPT, I know there is a one that does artwork as well, so you can put in the type of
write
art.
songs, does artwork. I mean, it's
amazing.
It is.
With that being said, everyone has the ability to unmute yourself. So if you have a question, please speak up.
I know I threw a lot out there, everyone. And I'll tell you, if we want to do something together, though, on collecting some of this data together, we've got Amanda Harbison, who is our director of research. She has a background in data research. And Amanda and I are willing to work with your chapter and do anything we can to support you anytime.
Thanks, Josh. Hearing no questions, this is being recorded. It looks like Jim Meyer might have a question. Jim?
Yeah, just real quick, Josh. We just came out of a couple chapter meetings where we had some NEBF data about retirement, right?
Yes.
I know Jay and Rob and others have presented to us. So the numbers don't look as bad as we initially thought, which, we were hoping to have data that would tell us otherwise. And I'm not sure if the data you had up on the screen was actual or just, a function of some type of chart to go back and use at our local level. But how do we use that data, which doesn't look as staggeringly bad locally, right, to prove our points moving forward?
Listen,
if that makes
so
sense.
I'll tell you that's a great question. One of the things about data is don't let it mislead you. Don't use it as a weapon. If the data is not showing that there's a problem, then there's not a problem. That you can't try to, you don't want to fake it. If the data is telling you that, Now, if you don't believe or trust that data, how can we go about actually trying to capture that in a way that is fair and giving us accurate information?
But
So
using the data for future, I guess, is more of the question, Josh. A, not knowing exactly what the future holds for any of us contractors in different jurisdictions in different areas. Maybe we're seeing the shortage of manpower, even though the numbers
Oh,
aren't
yeah.
100% proving it. So that's more the question of how to, not as a weapon, but as I'm with you, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's information is knowledge. So how do we use that as partners with the IBW or fellow contractors? We're big partner friends, NECA people. I completely agree with that statement. More friends in this business, the better. How do we use that to bolster our numbers, and how do we get more electricians around us?
You know, I would use data to have some real conversations, because if the data is saying one thing, but you feel another way, then a lot of times it might be how we're measuring this. I encourage all of our chapters right now to sit down more than ever and educate. I mean, any of these types of slides, just to sit down and facilitate conversation with your locals to talk about how this industry is changing. We need IBW to be moving as fast and not be complacent either, right? We're partners in this thing.
100%.
So the thing I would say is that if the data doesn't give you the same, if it's not showing you what your gut is feeling or some of the pain that you're feeling, we may not be measuring some of this right. And let's talk to IBW and understand where we can get aligned. I know one of the things that we've been looking at a lot lately is incentive pay on certain jobs. And does that change behavior? Does it change attendance? And you know, what we want to be able to do is align and understand that when we're talking to IBW, if they know their attendance is falling off, that impacts the trust funds. That impacts them in a big way. If we could start to measure hours worked versus hours available at a chapter level and start to agree on how we do some of that to understand what's happening there, could change that conversation too, because there's skin in the game there, both for IBW and the contractors, that today we've got to look at how we measure some things in a different way as a group and agree to this, that we're going to do this. We're going to not only capture hours worked, but we're going to capture hours available. We're going to see if incentive pay. We've got to start to look at some of those things just to make better decisions going forward. Again, I want to use data to facilitate better conversations that tell me what this means. So, I think that's something that as a group, as a chapter, you need to start thinking about. Or if the data is not aligning there, if there's things not showing up, could we capture this in a different way to see if maybe based off the way we're measuring it, we don't have visibility. I know when I go around the country, everybody tells me on NEBF market share that IBW and NECA doesn't really trust the numbers there. So what could we do to better trust those numbers and validate some of the things we're seeing?
Hey Josh, not to hog this, is there any data ELECTRI has online for 410s? We do a lot of 410s work. Our local here does not, actually fights us all the time, but other locals swear by it. Our customers swear by it, and we're just looking for more data to be able to have this conversation.
I got some stuff. I can send it over. I'll send it to Rob and push that over to you. So
That'd be great.
There's some good studies out there on 410s compared to 5/8s.
Thank you, Josh. And Jim, yes, I'll get that to you. With that being said, we're closing out on the hour here. I will send out a follow-up email, and this presentation is being recorded, so it'll be posted on the chapter's website. If you have any questions for me or for Josh, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. With that being said, I want to do a shout out to our March Industry 30 with Lutron, titled Value Added Services in Lighting. So I hope you all can join us then. And with that being said, we're going to end today, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.